Hello, welcome to Black Metal and Brews, a program in which I go live only to realize that I've left my AC on, which might be noisy. I don't know if you can hear the AC, so I'm going to go turn it off real quick. All right, there we go. Just in case, I have no idea if that background noise is impacting you guys or not. But yeah, here we are. Today, I'm going to be joined by a band that I love dearly. They are called Matt Black. They are from here in Brooklyn, New York. They're a three-piece, and the music they play feels to me like a love letter to just like the heavy, dangerous side of rock and roll in so many different of its incarnations. Uh, Everything from like sludge metal to doom to I hate the term stoner rock, but there's a little bit of that sort of kind of boogie blues thing to it. But there's also like a deep love of post punk and so much else. So it I'm on the record as often being bored by bands within certain subcategories of doom and stoner. And Matt Black, I feel, transcends any boundaries and limitations and really enters a place that I think is just phenomenal hard rock music with, again, touches of everything. They made a playlist for today that you may have heard if you follow me on Patreon or saw my tweet. And they put everything from like the Melvins to Killing Joke on the list. So, all things that are beautiful, and the Stooges, of course. All these beautiful, wonderful songs that flip the script in some way, but are also like canonically great. Like even if you don't like the kind of rock band X plays, you're gonna love that band because they're just wonderful. And I'm seeing the members of the band are slowly starting to join in my waiting room here. So I'm going to let them in as they come in. So, hello, Court.
Hi,
Hello, how are you doing?
Ben. Good. How you doing?
I'm doing well. So right now it's just you and me, and feel free to introduce yourself since we got a minute while everybody joins in.
Sure. Thanks
Uh,
for having us. I'm very technologically backward. I'm working off of a 4-year-old phone, and it's on the outs. So I have like a short cord. It's the only charger that works for it. I don't know why. It's really bad, and I just keep putting it off. I'm like, next week.
you've got a clear, crisp connection. I can see and hear you perfectly. So you're doing better than a lot of people. And I know nothing about technology too. I kind of copy paste the link to get people to see this on YouTube, and I showed one of my friends the link to join in that I sent to you guys instead. And I'm like, no, that's not the link for you. Don't click that. I'm making grandparent level mistakes. So.
So
So you are the bassist in Matt Black,
yes,
and
bass and keys.
I'm sorry,
Bass and keys.
bass and keys, correct? And oh, and look at this. We've got
What's up? What's
drummer
up?
suavecito Fidel.
I was like, oh, I can enter my own name? What?
Yeah, it doesn't display for the guest, but it tells me, which I guess is a good way of me figuring out like if somebody has, found a way to sneak in.
Okay.
Like I mean, I guess I can set it to display the names that you've given, but I just it doesn't help for more than the first 3 seconds.
How are you guys?
Good. How are you?
Doing good. We're just waiting for Matt.
Oh, we're not waiting for Matt anymore.
No, that's it.
Hey, can you hear me?
Oh,
Yeah, we can hear
hey.
you. How's it
All
going?
right, what's up? Good, how are you?
Good.
Good now. Got everybody here. It looks beautiful.
All right.
All right.
Okay. What are you guys
So,
drinking?
well, I was waiting to open mine until you got here. Let's start with you guys, and I'll go last.
What's that? Oh, start with us. I'm doing small
Yeah.
green everything. It's like a session beer, IPA.
What are you drinking, Court?
Ooh.
I am drinking low-cal IPA. Now, I know. I'm
Is that the
losing
name of
points,
it?
And I don't care because I've been exercising a lot. And then when you put all that effort in it and you realize that I got to do all that to burn it off, no. So I am drinking 1Y1E, I'm not sure, IPA, Oscar Booze IPA. I haven't actually had it before, but some of the low-cal IPAs are actually pretty good. So, no. Sorry about that.
I was like,
That's fine.
Does that show up?
We heard a
Yeah,
beep,
because
but
you're gonna see that a lot.
nothing showed up.
buzzing.
No, there was no visual. It was just a buzzing noise.
oh man, there were so many visuals.
We
a
saw
lot
it
of
all. It
things.
was all on
I
display.
don't know, babe.
What are you drinking, Ben?
So I have. I'm about to open it. The KCBC Science Fair project. It is.
Nice.
It's a goes. I never know if it's goes or goza.
I always said goza,
Me too.
but some people say goes. I'm not sure the correct pronunciation.
Yeah, no idea how it's supposed to be said, but it's with dragon fruit, tangerine, and pineapple.
Sounds
This
nice.
one-
Sounds good.
This one was given to me as a birthday gift by Eugene, who is
nice.
a keyboard player in Lazy Space Cake, a good friend. He showed up with. He's like, I don't know what to get you for your birthday, so he just came with like a tote bag with like 8 tall cans of beer. And he's like, I don't know what these are. They just looked cool. I'm like, that's how I find beer too. So,
Cool.
we'll see how it is.
Awesome. Cheers, guys.
Cheers. Oh wow! I did not expect this color to come out of this.
Oh, nice.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, it's KCBC. It's gonna be good, but this color had me nervous. Like it looks like Kool-Aid.
Wait, I want to see your mug.
My mug is a. Well, you can tell. Maybe you can tell. Autumn drew this. It's a picture of my friend Howard, who passed away in November. So she got that for me as a birthday gift. It was like, I was very delighted to have it. So now I can drink with my old buddy anytime I want. Every time I drink, I have to deal with him now. It works well.
That's awesome.
And so, I'm glad I'm not alone. We got a comment here. I kept thinking one of my friends was saying "ghost" from the way he pronounced the beer, "goes," and so I'm gonna
yeah.
here now. I like that thought.
Ghost beer,
Yeah. So today, in addition, we're gonna talk about a lot of things, but we're gonna talk about your record, Psyche, and all the cool stuff you got going on with that. The record came out digitally on Halloween of last year, but you had plans for, I think, a more pronounced release of the vinyl this year, and then other things happened.
Yeah, I was hoping to do a show at TVI with Lacey Space Cake, and we would all have a really good time, and didn't happen because everything got shut down before we had a chance to do that.
Yeah.
So figured might as well, since we put the digital release out so much earlier than the vinyl, which had delays, that it felt we might as well just put it out.
We've been snubbed.
There's only 3 of us now.
We've been snubbed. She didn't like that line of questioning.
It's like, I don't know about this, guys. I'm just gonna jump.
She's like, TVI, I don't want to play there. I'm out of here.
Yeah. This happened the last time I was the last time I interviewed a full band. I interviewed Boot Black.
Oh, this will be fun because now the squares are gonna move.
Yeah,
Different spots.
it's like musical squares.
Sorry,
well,
it's that phone.
Yeah, so
It's like
now
a Brady Bunch.
Exactly. I described it to Matt as like the Brady Bunch or Hollywood Squares.
Hollywood Squares.
Yeah.
which
Hollywood
I did
Squares.
I did not know what Hollywood Squares was.
You didn't?
Like, Matt had to explain to me.
Oh man. It's a little before my time. Admittedly, I did not grow up with it, but I you learn because you see a pop culture reference to something, and then you take it in. So maybe, if there's a Zoomer or something watching this, they'll look it up now, saying, "What are these old people?"
I actually knew people exclusively from Hollywood Squares. Like I didn't know they did other things because I only saw them
Yeah.
on Hollywood Squares when I was a kid. I was like,
Oh.
oh, that guy's just a Hollywood Squares guy.
And not that they were known for other things.
No, for anything else, just that they were on Hollywood Squares.
And so we've been asked if we're all from New York, and I mean, the answer today is we're all here now. I mean, I think we're all here, but
Except for me.
Yeah. Where are you? Where are you?
I'm from Jersey and in Jersey, so I'm just across the Hudson.
Double Jersey.
Yeah, you're
Double
like
Jersey.
the realest of us then, because I know that the three of us who are not you are transplants. So what's everybody's path to New York? I've heard a little bit about Matt's. Fidel, I don't know your life.
Well, I was born in Mexico City, but we moved to New York in '93. So I've been living in New York since 1993.
You're a real New Yorker, more than I'll ever be. Damn.
Maybe a little bit, yeah. I got some street cred.
And Matt, I feel like you've lived in just about like every place imaginable between the West Coast and here, or at least two places.
Yeah, I've lived a lot of different places. Mostly grew up in the Southwest, so in New Mexico. I was born in New Mexico, grew up in Colorado, California, and moved to the East Coast after living in the South in Texas.
Yeah, so nobody here is from New York, but everybody but me has been here. Jersey is as authentic as it gets with that anyway. So
I've lived in New York longer than any place else now. So I consider that.
How long have you been here?
Oh, let's see. How long has it been now? I think 13 years? 13 years, yeah. Maybe 14 years, 14 years, yeah.
Yeah, that's a long time. I'm coming up on 4 years soon, which is not long at all, but also the longest I've lived anywhere since I was 21, 22. So, I definitely jumped around a lot in my 20s because everywhere I moved sucked. New York does not suck, and I'm glad to be here. So you had this record, you had it come out, and you've then found your ability to kind of promote it in a lot of ways stunted. What has it been like for you to release something into the void in a way? Especially because I know that you had planned to release it or did release it on June 5th, and out of courtesy, respect, and understanding for the state of the world, given the protests, you kind of collectively elected not to really make a big scene about it, which I think was cool. But also that
it was an interesting release doing it that way, and I ended up. We did a special pressing, which was like a hand pour by Wax Madge through Gotta Groove Records, and it was a negative space edition. I think only 29 were pressed, and 13 went for sale online. But we did very little promotion. But people had seen that it was going to go on sale and marked it on their calendars, I guess. And we actually sold out of them in 20 minutes, which was pretty wild. And a lot of the people that bought the record weren't fans. They were fans of the hand pour, not of the band. So of the collecting this particular kind of vinyl. So it was kind of interesting also seeing later people saying things about discovering a new band because they bought a record that they didn't know what the music was on it before they purchased it, or weren't aware of the band before they purchased the record, which is interesting. I didn't know that was a thing. I didn't know people did that. And then we ended up donating all of the sales of those to charity totally. And then so far, I actually don't think we've sold a record that hasn't, all the proceeds haven't gone to charity. So that's kind of a different thing that happened based in my response and our feelings about, you know, what to do when you're putting out a record in June of 2020. So it ended up being really positive. I feel like we walked away with also being able to, somebody would say, I would like to buy a record, and I would ask them if they could donate directly instead of giving me any money, and then I would just send them the record. And I think in total we raised about $400 in the early June.
That's fantastic. Like truly, I'm thinking, I'm like, man, I've been able to give a little bit and get people to give a little bit, but $400 is substantial. And how has the response been? You find, like, obviously people have discovered you because of the limited vinyl variant, which is interesting. But, like, you know, I guess especially from those people, what are people saying about the music who didn't already know, or what, you know, what's that been like?
It's been really positive. I haven't heard anything really negative at all. I'm just kind of people discovering a new band, and it's complimentary and it's nice. And yeah, it's nice to hear feedback. I feel like we're a band who puts a lot of time into doing what we do, and we play a lot, and we do it because we love to play music and we love writing music, but we don't, it's always kind of a void in a way. Like, I feel like we don't usually get a lot of feedback in general, you know, even when it isn't a pandemic.
Yeah. No, I feel like it's hard, you know, when you're creating something, you put all this time and effort into something, you know, it can take obviously hours of one's life, hours and hours to create a single 3.5 minute long song, just in the terms of, you know, all the time spent writing, practicing, making sure it's what you want, and then recording and all that. And then, you know, a lot of the time the response you'll get is, oh, that's cool. You know,
well, yeah, I mean, and yeah, I don't even really mind that so much. It's just, I guess, like, how long, guys, did it take to make the record, and then how long did we wait to put it out? There was, this record, so many things happened to prevent it from coming out until 2020. It should have come out years ago, probably. So when did we start working on it? Do you guys remember?
I think it's been a couple of years now, right?
Was it 2016 when we started working, or 2017?
That's when we started
like
working. Yeah.
And the actual sessions to record, because we tracked everything live with the instruments. The sessions themselves didn't take very long. It wasn't like we were working on the songs actively. It was just getting everything to fall in place over and over again. It was delayed. So I feel like, in a way, the release even now feels like it hasn't come out yet, even though it's out, just because we didn't do a record release show. There was a lot of work, and then not a very, very quiet release. So
yeah, I think, and especially everything that you guys collectively do as a band and as artists strikes me as is very deliberate. From the way, from, you know, like, so I think some bands put out a record and it's like, it's just kind of like, okay, we've got these songs, we need to get them out. And with you, I mean, the art is very precise. The track listing is very precise. I wanted to ask, I mean, I guess specifically about everything, but tell me about working with this artist, whose name, of course, I forget, so I'm looking, Felipe Mesquita.
He's a really talented artist. He lives in Brazil. The band, Matt Black, we've been working with him since, I think, initially in 2012. So we have a long history of him doing posters, and I've made like animations with him where he completely illustrated things that I animated and set to music for Dust of This Planet. And he's made T-shirts for us, and really been an amazing person to meet and create art with. And when it was time to work on this record, it seemed appropriate that we work together on it. And we had already assembled what you see on the back cover that were actually used as concert posters over the years. And they are classical elements. So each one represents fire, water, earth, and air.
Yeah, I'll try and get. I don't know how well it's showing on my screen because I'm doing it backwards and I'm behind it, but you know, like I'm sure you guys have noticed that left is right and right is left on these things with this.
Yeah, I did notice that. Yeah, so it was really cool working with him and having him do the cover and I really did he did the moth. That's his artwork as well on the back.
Yeah.
And it was just really nice to work and collaborate with him. He's a wonderful person and a really talented artist. And yeah, I can't say enough good things about working with him and collaborating with him. So a lot of time went into a lot of those illustrations that maybe wouldn't have gone into it if we had done it just all at once. You know, it was kind of a long period of time that things went into it. And there's really amazing poster prints for a lot of those. I think we planned on still using some for the record release party and for some other shows. So they haven't all been posters, but two of the four have been posters. So I hope that we can do 2 editions of silk screen posters for the other ones at shows eventually. If not, maybe just some a series of cool prints of all 4. And I wanted to do actually more inserts, but it just didn't. Just when it was all coming together, it didn't make sense to spend the extra expenses, especially since this release so far we haven't made any money back because it's all gone to charity. So, Not the best business model, by the way.
I don't think being in a band is the best business model.
No.
You know, so I think all things considered, I'm seeing 3 smiling faces here, so I think you're doing pretty well for being in a band. I think that, you know, like I think a lot of people find art as just another way of making themselves miserable over time or making regretful decisions.
Well, I think I speak for all 3 of us that we all are people who have to play music, and we get upset when we don't play music. So as long as we're playing, we're happy, and we don't, you know. I think I heard this quote. Josh Homme said it, and ever since he said it, it really stuck out in my mind as a good way to explain it. And it's if you expect anything from music, you expect too much. And I always thought that was a great way to look at it, because you're like, you enjoy it, you love it, you do it because you feel like you have to or you want to, or it's a way you express yourself. And you know, you could go deeper and talk about how, you know, music is waves and you can feel it and its energy. And, you know, if you expect monetary return from that, it seems disingenuous, and also it's not really about how good it is. There's not a really way to quantify how certain people end up making a living on it unless you are strategic, and that is your goal, is to actually make it a way as a source of income. Yeah. So a long time ago, I think Matt Black decided that as a band, we always want to make good music and play music together that we love to play, and not really worry about making any money. You know, it'd be nice to make money. I mean, everybody likes to get financial reward for something they love doing, and it would be great if I would be able to sell more records and get my records out to an audience of people who love to listen to them. And we could come together and play shows where the audience would grow and we would all contribute to the energy of the show and playing with other bands and building more of a community like that. But it seems that even in the wonderful, amazing bands that I get to play with, oftentimes I see them overlooked by a population of people who love music. Like, I don't really understand it. Like, I'll play a show with a band and think these guys are like the best band I've ever seen, and nobody knows who they are.
Yeah, and it's a common phenomenon, and I think, anybody who's been in a band is probably more inclined to pay more attention to other acts. Although and I'm sure you have too. I've seen plenty of bands who do not do that. Uh, I try to go to a show and watch every band because you never know. Like a lot of the time, some of my favorite bands are bands I saw opening for somebody else. Never heard of this band, and suddenly they're the thing I can't shut up about. So I do think that speaks to the community that we'd all like to build. Speaking of which, like, what are some bands that you've seen that really blew you away that you had not heard of, or were just not getting the attention that you thought? Like you went to a show and the opener just stole it for you or something.
Does anyone else want to jump in here?
Ooh, Corey?
I'm
Any
thinking.
bands?
Openers blew you away?
I mean, I actually remember, which is so sad because they're no longer band anymore. But I do remember seeing Go Wizard for the first time, and I was just like, "Holy shit! Who are these guys? Like, they're amazing. They're from Bethlehem. Also, super amazing people. But as musicians and the talent that these guys have is so crazy. So that's always been like super memorable.
And they're not a band anymore?
They just not too long ago, right, Matt? They announced that they were not going to move forward with,
Yeah,
with the band.
they but I believe that they will return. I do not think that it's the end of the Go Wizard. I think they will return.
Better
And
not
I
be.
think that Matt Black will hopefully play a show with them when they return.
Yeah.
But they're. I don't think this is the end. I think it's the end for now. But I've been through band breakups, like, as a fan, enough times to know that when people say this is the last show, we're never going to play a show again, it doesn't mean anything at all. It means nothing.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember going to see Nine Inch Nails play their last tour that they would ever play, and they called it the Wave Goodbye Tour. And then they came back, and they played a lot of shows since then. So I've seen it time and time again. Wasn't it like LCD Sound System? They made a whole documentary about the end of LCD Sound System, and then it was like sold out Madison Square Garden multiple days and all these shows all over the city, and then they came back and were a band again. So
There's like a whole genre of documentary about bands getting back together. So I didn't know there was one about LCD Sound System breaking up. I know I've heard them, but I couldn't name a song of theirs off the top of my head. I feel like they're the sort of band that I would like, but would also feel guilty if I liked. I don't know. That's a total guess.
I'm not going to comment on like that aspect of LCD Sound System, but I do think it'd be cool if a band made a documentary where it was kind of like a Kaufman-esque documentary where a band member planned on causing the demise and the breakup of the band ahead of time previous to the documentary, and that is the purpose of the documentary. Like he is behind the filming of the documentary to try to break up the band while they film it. I think that would be pretty interesting.
I almost feel like that's some kind of monster.
Oh.
But I don't think any of them were aware that they were actively doing that. I just think that they were being Metallica.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, man.
You know, I've only seen Metallica once.
Okay.
And it was without James Hetfield. So I don't know if I've seen Metallica really. That's the only time I saw Metallica.
So tell us that story, because I think that's crazy.
I guess he had a throat injury, and so he stayed in a different city and went to the hospital or tried to recover, and they played the show anyway with Jason singing vocals, and when he wasn't singing, they would have other bands frontmen from other bands sing it. And sometimes they would have to hold a lyric sheet because they didn't know the words to the song. And it was pretty cool, I have to say. I actually enjoy that that's the only time I saw Metallica, unless I would have seen them when, you know, Cliff Burton was still in the band. Like, other than that, I'm kind of glad I saw this weird Metallica show. Like, it, you know.
Yeah. I think shows like that really give you a chance to connect with the band. I've seen two shows like that. Once, which was just a couple of years ago here in Brooklyn, Brooklyn Bazaar, rest in peace. We saw Chameleons Vox, because he's not allowed to say he's Chameleons, but the singer of Chameleons played a show. The guitarist of his touring band like just disappeared like after the first night of the tour, just like got, I don't know, drunk and just left, got on a plane back home instead of continuing. So other touring bands members filled in on guitar for the rest of this tour, which is really cool. So it's like, you know, you watch a couple of bands open and then guitar for the rest of the night is played by different members of the touring bands. And then I saw this band probably a decade ago now. They're called the Proto Men. They're like a rock opera about Mega Man sort of thing.
Oh yeah,
like,
yeah. So we're actually friends with a few of the members, and a good friend of ours who directed the video. Two good friends of ours worked on the music video for I think it's, what's it called? Enter the Night, I think it was what it's called.
Okay,
I hope I got that right. But anyway,
that's
it's really cool to watch. And my wife actually did some wardrobe for it, so we actually have kind of a Proto Man connection, I suppose.
I didn't know that.
But those
I've
guys
seen,
are super cool.
I've seen them like 4 times, 5 times. But the first time I was supposed to see them, it was like at some like nerd music convention. So a lot of, I mean, very, very genre diverse sort of thing, because it's not about sound so much as theme. Somebody thought they were doing the band a favor by giving them special cookies before their set, but didn't tell them that they were special cookies. And allegedly, their singer of the Proto Men is allergic to marijuana. And I don't know if that's true or not. I don't know him. But I think whether or not he's allergic, there was no way he was able to play this show. And so the set keeps getting pushed back and pushed back and pushed back. And eventually the band is just like, well, you know, can people sing the songs? And so they played a very short set. But, you know, they had, you know, some kid in the audience who had a homemade Mega Man helmet sang one of the songs. And there were a few that the rest of the band could sing, because it's not just one singer anymore. There's, you know, extra singers. But it was like the coolest sense of community watching all these fans come help sing in like this crowded place after the band had to postpone by an hour. They did a makeup set the next night, you know, which was cool. But like, I think it was more special to watch everybody pull it together in the absence of a member of the band. So
that's awesome. So have you seen like there's a record that they did called the Cover Ups, where they made
I saw that.
The cover of that record?
Last time I saw them was on that tour.
Okay,
like
so for example, the artist who did the art direction for that record cover is the same artist who did Dust of This Planet.
Oh, wow.
Casper Newbold. And so it's funny that you mentioned Proto Man. We have a little bit of like not exactly, you know, not connected by person to person always, but you know, there's like a little bit of a through line.
Now, that's funny. I hadn't thought of them in a while, but then you and I have been talking about Mega Man back and forth a bit, because your son is very into Mega Man right now. And
yes, he loves Mega Man.
And I almost thought, I'm like, I wonder if Matt's heard the Proto Men. I think he might like it. So.
Yeah, interesting thing too about Mega Man is I feel like Mega Man, my son loving Mega Man so much, I've been really getting into the Bit Brigade version of Mega Man 2 soundtrack.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if do you know who Bit Brigade is?
Yes.
Yeah. So which, if people don't know, it's a band that goes and plays soundtracks of video games while somebody plays the video game live, and they play the music live while they play the video game. And it's pretty incredible seeing like a show where the person doesn't mess up because he's got to get through and go along with the song. So it's pretty interesting to watch it all come together and click. And it's almost like the gamer is performing live. He's got his water bottle, you know, he's intense. But those rock covers of Mega Man 2 are pretty incredible. Good melodic dueling guitars and yeah, good stuff.
Yeah, I think video game soundtracks were part of my, like, not exclusive, but part of my introduction into stranger music. I remember playing Super Metroid in the mid 90s, and just, it was fucked up music. It wasn't pretty like a lot of the games. You know, you play Mario Brothers, it's upbeat, and then suddenly I was hearing this music that actually was scaring me. You know, and the only thing I could compare it to at the time was Nine Inch Nails, which, you know, not a bad comparison, but
Right.
You know. So anyway, I feel like I've helped derail things, and I apologize, but I like hearing stories.
I think
So
everybody
thank you for
here
indulging me there.
is cool talking about video games.
Well, I'm always happy to hear your stories about that intersection then. One thing I wanted to talk about Psyche as a record too. Aside from like a lot of the subtle things, you've got, I feel like, kind of a perfect arc, and it's weird because like it's clearly a run through like a set album, but there's a distinct shift between the A side and the B side, which I kind of love. Like there's different moods almost. Like the B side feels a little more mournful, more introspective, whereas the A side is kind of more raucous. And it's not like, as a rule, it's not like there's only one feeling, but excuse me. But I love that, and I love that, you know. And I know I have to ask. You've got the song 1969 closing out side A. Is that a nod to the Stooges in any way? It feels like it should be.
It's actually not a nod to the Stooges. And the engineer, Mitch, is also a Stooges fan. And we would make even Stooges joke references to the lyrics in that song when we were passing mixes back and forth.
Okay.
And talking about, like, especially when we were mastering, you know. But the reason why it's called 1969 is because when Courtney started to come and play with us, and this is before we were playing with her in Matt Black, because initially Matt Black had a different bass player. And so we had a different band called Skinny Later. And when we were in this band, we started playing just jams. So we would come in the room and we would just play whatever we felt, and everybody would just add their part. And we would record them in an old power book. I think it's a G4. And the date is always December 31st, 1969. So that's why the song is called 1969, is because it was a captured track of us just playing what we felt and improvising. And we actually, the song in its entirety is pretty much what was improvised. And we just kind of refined it over time, and we would kind of keep it loose and just not really, and that's why I wanted to keep it instrumental, is to keep it with that feel of what it was initially. But yeah, it's named 1969 because the computer we recorded on, even today, it's December 31st, 1969. Every single day you turn the computer on.
It's funny too, because when we play it live, it's never exactly the same each time. I mean, the nuts and bolts are the same, but there's always something very slightly different each time. And that was part of the thing. We would kind of record, you know, play it out a couple times and work on it, and it would always be very slightly different, even when it was like done.
Yeah.
There's no live. It's always like
recorded it. I think we recorded it several times.
Yeah.
Right? Like, that wasn't like we picked the last take, I think the last time we tried to record it, which I believe was the summer of 2018. Is that correct? When we came in, we did that. Right. That's the one we used. But yeah, there's a video that we have. I think it's been posted almost everywhere online, that we have, like social media or YouTube or Facebook. that we did live. That's an interesting version from a show at St. Vitus. That I think that was like when we heard that version of it, it was like, okay, that's basically the format that we really kind of said, okay, we're gonna keep it loose, but basically that's the structure, that's the song.
We cover our own song.
But even of our own song. But I think the WFMU version that we have is different too. Like they're just a little different every time, and I think keeping it loose was always exciting for us, because it kind of keeps you on the edge of your seat, waiting to know whatever and listening and paying attention. Where I feel like some of our songs, we kind of just go for it, and it's pretty much like there's nuances that might change, but it's not going to change a whole lot. But that was always one that we could be pretty loose with.
Yeah, no, I think it's fun, and I think the fact that it's loose and instrumental is what makes it such a good transitional track. I mean, questions about other songs, but you mentioned something that made me curious. Two of you, Fidel and Matt, have been playing together for a decade now. You've been playing together more than a decade. I don't know. I'm bad at time.
I think about exactly a decade. I think the first time we played together was 2010. Is that correct?
I think so. I believe so. Yeah. That's
So-
all right.
Yeah.
The nature of playing with somebody, I mean, from day one, you can have a relationship, but at this point, I'm assuming that the songwriting process, you guys know who you're writing with and how you're going to play it, and just there's a freedom to that. What is it like to sit down and create a song? Because it sounds like you guys are not the kind of band to have a structure and say, oh, this is what this song is going to be, and instead you just play it out. What does that look like for you?
I don't know. It's I feel like what we tend to do is just like go in and more than anything, just start messing around with any kind of sound that we have in mind, or even if it's nothing in like particular, I can either just start playing whatever beats and Matt will start joining in, or vice versa. But it's basically literally grabbing pieces as we go, and we pretty much know how each of us plays. So if Matt starts going into a certain direction, I can follow him just because I already know where like he usually goes, and like we kind of like have this like language where we understand each other, and we know when to really kick it up or when to mellow it down. It's really kind of like hard to explain, but at the end of the day, I feel like we just bounce ideas and we basically feed from each other's like riffs or beats, and then we try to more than anything enjoy it, and then see what comes out. And if we're lucky, we probably had record the jam that we were doing. Sometimes there's moments where you're like, did we record that? But it's fun. It's always been fun. I feel like that's one of the things that we have, like making everything like not to like, oh, it has to be this way. It's more like, hey, check it out. Let's just like go in this direction. It's kind of loose.
And I think even when Courtney came to first even play with us, we didn't give you any direction, right? There wasn't any words really. You just kind of, we play what we play, and then she joins in and we all play together, and you can feel it when it clicks. And that's the thing about 1969 specifically, is when that song happened, the first time when it kind of came together, you could feel the space in between what everybody was doing and how it was weaving together, that it was like a conversation. It was already like a language of something happening that we weren't really thinking about consciously. But I almost, it kind of reminds me of like a David Lynch idea of the big fish being out there, and you can catch it if you want to catch it, but these ideas are out there. They're not your ideas, but if you show up and you open yourself up to the ideas, then the ideas come. I feel like there's a connective tissue with our band that when we play together, there is some intuitive conversation that'll happen just by the music playing. And sometimes I don't think about the notes that I'm playing them when I play them. I just play the notes and then they happen. So it's not, sometimes it's not even a very like conscious thought. Now there's definitely a lot of very purposeful writing that goes on, but I feel like a lot of times an initial groove won't necessarily be like this. Like it's very rare that I've come in and I've said, I've written this part and then this part happens and then I need you to play this part. And, you know, it's not structured like that. Or I've never given the band a full fleshed out demo. It's never operated that way. It's never been like, oh, here's the song. You guys figure out the parts and then or you guys do what you want to do to match these parts. You know, and I respect artists that work that way. That's just never how our band has worked. And, you know, Fidel doesn't do that and Courtney doesn't do that. It's more of like maybe one of us comes in and brings a riff or an idea. Because sometimes we're not always together when something happens. And so we can come and say that there's a cool riff that I wrote. What do you guys think? Or let me send you the song. Like sometimes maybe it would be more structured where one of us would write a part and then send it. And then we could listen to it and then have an idea. But I feel like nothing as far as the drums, bass, and guitar on Psyche was written without us pretty much coming together and having it happen in the room, other than maybe Gone. That would be maybe the only song that didn't come together that way. And I feel like that song came together in the studio and there was a lot more of it in my brain that people weren't really sure how it was going to come out when it was all done, just because of how it was written, just the time frame. And that was kind of a riff that was done on acoustic guitar. And so when we tracked it in the studio, Courtney and Fidel were in a different room than I was. And that's the only song on the record too, where we were like disjointed while we recorded.
And that's actually one of the songs that I was curious about, because it does feel like a denouement of sorts to some of the intensity of it. It's not just like it's not a ballad at all, but it has characteristics that feel ballad-like when set next to your other songs. There's the piano, which I believe Courtney is you're doing. It feels. I mean, it feels like heartbreak, obviously, with the lyrics and the sound. But I wanted to ask about the process of that song and how that came together and what the intent was.
Yeah. So the process, I think it initially started with the riff on a tuned down jumbo acoustic from the mid 60s that I have in my living room that I just play. It's like a K jumbo. I think it's a 1965. And we recorded a lot of music over the years at Seaside with Mitch Rackin and Charles Burst. And they have, I think it belongs to Charles. He has one on the wall. I think it's a 66. And I had used it on a David Bowie cover and a few other things that we'd played with it. And anyway, I fell in love with the guitar. I found one that was very similar. I keep it in my living room and pick it up and play riffs. And I had tuned down and I had written that riff, and I started hearing a very drony kind of early Pink Floyd psychedelic mantra kind of in my head. And that's, I think, where it started, where the melody came from and where everything came from. Lyrical content is kind of it does end the record in ways that I don't even know if I should totally explain right now. But from the way the lyrics flow through the whole story and the personal aspects of the album, that is definitely the most emotionally powerful song on the record. And a lot of it has to do with dealing with death and, being able to let go
No, it's definitely one of those. The first time I heard it, like instantly, kind of like hair standing on end, sort of reactions to both the sound and lyrical direction of it. And yeah, I guess oddly enough, or because it's not even my intention, but I wanted to ask about the very first track on the record as well, uh, which I always get it wrong. Isolation under glass. I always want to call it intuition under glass. I have no idea why. I know that doesn't make sense. But once you get a bad idea in your head and you're like, no, that's wrong, it forces its way to the front of your head every time to suggest itself. I want to ask about Isolation Under Glass. I believe it's the only song that's got a guest musician on it, and it's got, again, such an interesting sound. Like, I feel like while each song on the record has a unique energy to it, I feel like you were very deliberate in how you chose to begin and end things.
Yeah, I think the structure. So we recorded more songs than and fully recorded more songs and mixed and did mixes than what appear on the record. Quite a few more. And the way that I always think about music when we make albums is that you want it to flow like a journey. I want to go somewhere when I listen to a record. And so I think that you do want to start with something, and then you have like rise and fall and like an ending. And so there was never, I don't think we ever had a question in any of our minds that the first song wouldn't be that song. That was the first one that came together fully, I think, for the record. I think it was the first song. Actually, I know it was the first song that was completely mixed and mastered, and it was actually done before most of the other songs were completed. And our friend Sean, who also goes by Marcel on What Was Music on WFMU, and he also has a band, River Cult. We would play shows with River Cult and became friends. And I really love some of his slide work that he does, and I thought it would be cool to bring him in. And again, I didn't tell him what to play or ask him, or or I guess he didn't ask me what exactly to do other than just like listen to the song. And I didn't give him the song before he came to the studio. So what you're hearing on the record is Sean coming in, plugging an amp, getting a tone, miking him up, and then him hearing the song a few times and practicing it, and then just playing it. And then we took it and put it into the mix after the fact. So there's also like an element of him catching that right out of the air as it's being played. And in fact, I'm not sure if he would know how to play it, because I think he only played it one time. He would probably have to learn how to play it again. Yeah, so that song, I think interesting enough, when I listen to Isolation Under Glass and I listen to the lyrics, even though that song was written like 3 years ago, it sounds very timely to what's happening right now in the world. There's a lot of elements and themes in the song that have to do with self-isolation.
Yeah, I
think that's where the story begins on the record.
I feel like in a lot of ways, even though the record, came out digitally, 8 months ago, it touches on this moment in a lot of ways. And I think, there was obvious foreshadowing socially to some of the things that are happening right now, just with the general state of the Trump presidency. But obviously nobody would have said, oh, yeah, there's going to be a pandemic, this time. You're going to have to stay indoors. So I think that was oddly prescient. But it does capture, in general, there's a lot of frustration and kind of claustrophobia of this moment throughout the record. It's kind of a running pulse. And I didn't want to drill you on lyrics just because I know that that's only... actually, are the lyrics collaborative in any way, or is that just a Matt thing?
That's pretty much Matt, yeah.
Okay, because I was trying, like, in preparing for this, I'm like, okay, how can I not... I didn't want to just single that out and have it be just a, putting the flames to one member of the band.
No,
put you in the hot
I
seat,
mean,
but-
I don't think. I think that like the music comes, a lot of the lyrics. It's pretty organic, and since I'm usually the one singing, it kind of just comes from me.
Yeah.
But it's never been like a, deliberate, I'm the only one who writes the lyrics situation.
Right.
It's just kind of been that way since we started the band.
Of course.
But we do sometimes live have different members sing,
Ooh.
but usually on the records the lyrics are all coming from me and from my point of view.
And with that, what do you get out of recording something, and what do you get out of the live show? And like, because I know some bands hate recording, some bands for whatever reason hate playing live. I can't relate to that, but like, where do you feel at home, and what do you get out of the things that don't feel as home-like to you?
I could answer both questions, but I feel like I've been talking a lot. So why don't you guys say how you feel?
I always like
feel
playing
George.
live. I think we all do. That's probably the most fun, and just engaging with the audience and engaging with friends and other people we're playing with. I like recording. I mean, it's exhausting, but I enjoy it.
Fidel?
I like a little of both. I do love the thought of like playing live and just sweaty, just I don't know the vibes basically more than anything of what can happen at a live show. But a lot of the times, just being able to be in the studio, I don't know, there's something about that, and just being able to create something that's just it's going to be there for forever in a way. I really enjoy that aspect of just going down to the studio, recording, trying to play around with as many toys as you can, but also like really trying to listen to what you're doing, without other distractions. You literally are like under the microscope and it's like, oh, that didn't sound that well, or oh my god, I can't believe it sounded that good. So there's something about like recording live that's definitely one of my favorite things.
Yeah, I
And
think
we listen to each other a lot, even when rehearsing. I feel like, I mean, I'm sure you guys agree, when we already know what we're going to play, especially once the song's been completed. But, I always listen. Well, Fidel usually listen for you first, obviously, to make sure timing and everything. But I think that's important to listen to each other, as opposed to just being in your bubble and focusing on your own instrument.
Yeah,
You're playing
I
together.
agree. I think we're really good at listening to each other and playing off of each other. And I think in a live setting, it's really fun to do that with other friends and on a stage with, people in the audience who maybe have never heard us do it before. So I always love playing out. I think for me, I probably enjoy the studio work a little more than other members of the band, just because to me that's almost the ultimate experience for me. It's what I've always wanted to do my whole life, maybe even more than play live, is make records. I just want to make albums. I wanted to put more than even songs. It's like, to me, I've always wanted to create a whole experience around the music, and I feel like going in the studio is like a playground to like make these songs come to life and to work. And it's not always fun. Sometimes it's very tedious. Sometimes it's difficult. I would say oftentimes my favorite songs on the records that I make are the hardest to actually record in the studio. Where live we might play the same song and it's just, we play it once and it's easy and we love it and there's no problems, but I think the reward pays off, and I'm very grateful to have made this record with these two people.
I mean, it's a fantastic record, and it's not the first record you've done, and it's not the first good record you've done either. I love it, but it really feels like a complete statement, and I think I couldn't imagine. I'm very precious about what little I do. So when you say that you recorded more songs that didn't make it to the record, I would be that. Even though I'm a firm believer in a 40-minute album length at tops, I would be that asshole with a 75-minute double LP because I wouldn't know what to cut. Which is why it's good that I'm not sitting here writing prog rock or anything.
I mean, I don't know. Sometimes I wonder if we're such good editors, we edit down even our songs. Like a lot of times, how long was the first 1969? I think it was like at least twice the
7
length,
minutes.
right? 7 minutes long.
It
So I
was
feel
long.
like even in our songs, we trim them down to necessary parts, and what we like when we feel something's too long, we usually compact it. And I think
It also cool.
yeah, hold on one second.
That's gone too. It's just you and me.
No, Fidel.
What was I saying again? I forgot.
You're talking about editing songs down.
Oh, editing down. Okay, so when we were making the record, I feel like there were songs that were good songs, but they didn't necessarily feel like they belonged as part of the final album. And so, there was some good stuff. I mean, sometimes I think, like, I wonder if I edited it down. I've read people say this record's really great, but it's only 29 minutes long. I'm like, it could have been longer, but I don't know. It seemed like, for some reason, this record, the 4 songs on one side and the 4 songs on the other side, it seems like they made sense.
Yeah, sorry. It's like
What
you're
is
leaving.
that?
Hold on one second. Let me.
Fidel, are you starting your own noise project over there?
Yeah.
Sorry,
What a
technical
squeak.
difficulties. My phone was on 1%, so I had to plug it in. Or you missed this beautiful face.
It just made some great noises. It was worth it.
So I'm gonna start a second beer. Do you have still one beer?
I have to go get one if that's the case.
Yeah, I mean,
We can wait for you.
We can grab more beers. Let's have some more beers. I'll be right back.
Okay.
You can engage with the folks viewing. If anybody's watching and has questions, now is a great time to ask. I'm gonna spend 3 seconds getting a beer.
We'll talk.
Oh, I'm not upside down. I was holding my phone the whole time because it's, the charge, and you know how my phone's really old.
Yeah.
It's the same phone since we've been together. That's how old it is.
Oh, wow.
Nice.
Wow.
I'm like
Nice hairdo.
frugal,
Did you get your beer?
Thank you. Let me go get it.
Yeah, go get it.
All right, so I'm back, and now you're all gone. This is exactly how it goes. Like I've been abandoned. Oh geez. Oh, that's why you've had that echo. I didn't realize that you two were in the same place.
What are you talking about?
What are you talking about, man?
You've got a nice new haircut, Matt, or I guess rather the hair migrated. Fidel, you guys swapped hairstyles. I don't know.
Adele.
Just the wig, the wig. It's
Great. Wow.
So I don't know. Is everybody drinking the same thing except me? Did you get a second of the same beer, or do we have new beers?
Yeah.
No, I have a different one.
What do we got? Oh,
Green City. Other half Green City double dry hop. Where's it at?
Matt, what have you got?
Ain't nothing nice.
Is it nice though? That doesn't. I wouldn't want to have a bad time.
It's very good, and I think
Okay.
I think maybe it's a deterrent, so people won't buy it, and then I can drink it. That's my guess.
Yeah, it's like how some animals have like bad colors on them so that predators don't eat them.
Yeah, it's probably like when the brewery sells it, they want to drink it for themselves. So they're like, it ain't nothing nice. You don't drink that one. You just drink this one over here.
This low calorie, it's up the 100-calorie IPA. It's pretty good. And
Oscar Blues does a good job.
What's that?
Oscar Blues makes good beer, so that makes sense.
Yeah, it's only 100 calories. And I will say, I mean, you know, we have access to very, very, very good beer, and it's pretty good, you know. So we'll buy again.
Yeah. So, and I'm drinking this is probably actually nothing nice. This is the Maui Mule. It's a canned cocktail from
I love it.
From Seawolf. The Seawolf didn't make it, but they're the seafood joint in my neighborhood that does delivery, but you can get booze delivered too. So it is passion fruit and ginger, but I think it's it's liquor. It's not beer at all, and vodka. So
You know what I love though is you have a passion fruit theme here. There's a passion fruit theme.
Well, see, I thought the other one was dragon fruit. Yeah, no, it's dragon fruit.
Dragon.
Shame on you. Yeah, no, but
different.
Which I still haven't figured out what a dragon fruit actually tastes like. Because every time I have it, it's an ingredient in something with 3 other fruits. As far as I know, it doesn't actually.
They're delicious.
I discovered dragon fruit this year.
Yeah.
And I could talk about dragon fruit. So there's basically 2 varieties of dragon fruit that you're going to find when you go to buy dragon fruit. And one is going to be yellow.
Okay.
And the other one's going to be red on the outside.
Okay.
And it's like you can cut it easily with a knife and open it up.
Okay.
And inside it looks like a kiwi, but like a white kiwi. So it's like white.
I've seen those.
Yeah, so that's what dragon fruit is. Now,
okay,
I think that when they're ripe, the yellow ones are sweet and taste delicious.
Okay.
I would not recommend buying a red one. I feel like they're very they don't have a lot of flavor. I think you have to add things to them. But it's an interesting fruit because it doesn't have the acidity of a kiwi. Like when they're sweet, like you have a good yellow dragon fruit, it's sweet like a candy without having any acidity like a kiwi would have. But it's the same texture. And they're not fuzzy on the outside.
That's good because kiwi. I feel like I'm allergic to kiwi or something because every time I have it, it's just stings your mouth. It's
mine gets ripped up too. And dragon fruit does not do that to me, but I get the same reward of the texture. I don't know. I do like the texture of the fruit. There's something about it that I enjoy. It's got like the little seeds in them. You know, it's almost like I don't know. What do you guys think about dragon fruit?
I have never seen a dragon fruit in any supermarket ever. So I don't know. I'm sure it's delicious, but I don't know where I could actually get one.
Well, that's going to be
your thoughts on dragon fruit. The people want to know.
I like dragon fruit.
Okay, so we're gonna have to have a dragon fruit tasting one of these days.
Are there? I don't know how it would flavor an alcohol though.
It did. It tasted mostly like the because it's a grapefruit, tangerine, and pineapple. I felt like the tangerine was the dominant flavor for sure. So, which is not a bad thing. I like tangerine. Does anybody know a Kimberly and a Phoebe? Because as you see this message, Phoebe said hello.
Yes, I don't know if she realizes Kimberly is my sister and Phoebe is her dog.
Oh, that's especially wonderful.
Hi, Phoebe.
We love a good dog, and then
love that dog.
We've been asked.
Oh, we have a question.
Yeah, what's everyone been listening to?
All right, who wants to go first?
Cord. Ladies first.
I've been listening to, my sister put me on to this band, Altan Goon. They're, I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right, they're a Turkish band. I think they're based out of Seattle.
Ooh.
And it's very much like, there's 2 Turkish musicians, and then there's 2 other musicians that I believe are Swedish. And it's a female singer, and they use a lot of Turkish instruments and guitars, and it's very good. They're inspired
Sounds
by a
great.
lot of the 70s Turkish music that came out, and it's really cool.
That is awesome. Anything else?
My usual, my usual kind of, always have on my Phil Collins. That's been lately. This has been a Phil kind of month, and but it's always, here and there. But I would say between my Phil Collins, I usually have some of my, my girl group compilations that I like. That's kind of a constant. I should be branching out more and trying new things, but I'm kind of a creature of habit, so I get comfortable.
So girl group is in like 60s girl groups,
Yeah.
or do we mean like the spot? Okay, and then Phil Collins, because I'm a fool, and the only thing, like, when I hear Phil Collins, I think of Mama, like him just singing the song Mama all vicious like, and I don't know much else. So what is to you the pinnacle of Phil Collins for a fool like me that doesn't know beyond the obviously the biggest hits?
His
Yeah.
legacy is at stake here.
But
Yeah,
that,
because
I'm just teasing. I said his legacy is at stake.
his legacy is what? I'm sorry. Oh, a stick
Oh, I was at stake.
at stake. Oh, why, poor Phil?
No. I was just made like you were defending Phil Collins' legacy right now.
yeah,
Oh,
Not that like
No.
he has a steak or that he needs steak or that it was a must steak.
Who's the first?
Yeah.
Who's the first?
No. I'm just saying, like, you're speaking to him. He knows nothing of Phil Collins.
no,
we don't know each other, unfortunately. No. No, I just remember being little and watching the videos that would come on with Phil Collins, and then they did that cover of "You Can't Hurry Love," and just
Yeah.
enjoying it, And then obviously, as I got older, I got, exposed to more Phil. But
Did you
It's
guys
kind of
see during the
nostalgic.
pandemic?
what's that?
Sorry to interrupt. During the pandemic, there were videos that people did something in the air tonight where they were closing cabinets in their kitchens. Did anyone else see those?
Oh,
I
God.
missed those. No.
Anyway, they were like, it was like a dad thing to do, to like film yourself closing the cabinets in your kitchen to the drum solo, the fill, and something in the air tonight. Do 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 do, and they were like close all the cabinets with their feet and their hands in the microwave and like whatever. That was definitely like a March early pandemic.
Did you try it?
Thing.
March was like
Being a
5
dad?
years ago.
No. I felt like it was done better than I could ever do, especially with the cabinets in my house. Like it's like my apartment. I don't think I could replicate it. It was mastered. It was can't do it better.
My favorite one is not a recent one. It's I'm gonna leave it in the YouTube comments so people can watch. I've just thrown it into the chat. It's a video of a deer stumbling in time with the drum fill. So
Oh, okay, all right.
watch it. It's the deer is not hurt. We love animals, but it's walking.
No deers were harmed in this video.
Stumbles right in time with that. And it's just like it's wrong. So how about Fidel? What have you been listening to the last 4 months? What have been your pandemic survival tunes?
Oh man, so many. Too many to name, but I tend to
that's a cop-out.
just listen. Yeah. Well,
Name a few.
No, there's definitely been a mix of things. So I can go from like our awesome like Nina Simone to like some nice Celia Cruz, and then like old school Fania All Stars, and then I don't know, like go to the Meltings, and like I don't know, it depends on what my mood is, and also like you wake up on a day that you don't know even like what day is it, and then I don't know, whatever the mood takes you. But yeah, I try to mix it up. I think that's my thing. Like, I don't really like stick to one thing. I just try to listen as much as as I can. We've been digging Crumbin lately, so that's been really really sweet. Also because it's a little bit more chill. But yeah, it's just more like trying to listen to things that I can get a little bit more like inspiration, and also more than anything, like keep the spirit up.
No, totally. That Khruangbin especially, like a friend of mine, like 'cause I already knew them, but a friend of mine who is also a drummer hosted a live, like a full live set of theirs, and just said like I've never seen a drummer so in the pocket.
Oh
Uh,
my God, that's the one.
He's
That's one of
amazing.
the things. It's so in the pocket. It's not crazy, but literally, it's just like just grooving it, driving it. It's all for the songs. All for
no,
the
that
songs.
And
no that.
the bass groove with clicking with the drums
Oh,
is incredible. And her tone using like the Fender amplifiers for her P bass tone, where you can hear her fingers. I don't know. I'm pretty crazy about that band. I saw them play at Music Hall Williamsburg.
hmm.
It was incredible. It was like I've never seen people freak out more at a live show for an instrumental band in my life. And I've seen amazing instrumental bands, but it was like they're primarily, I guess they're starting to sing more. But at the time that I saw them, most of their songs were instrumental with maybe a little background vocal harmony.
Yeah. I feel like they just go whoo, and that's about
Yeah, the
it.
new record though has lyrics.
Whoa! I didn't know that.
So I feel like they kind of started on the second record doing some lyrics. I think they did a song or two here or there early in their first two records, and then like the new record definitely has really structured lyrics. And I feel like as they've grown as a band, I also love the fact that they're this band in Texas who records most of the stuff in a barn, right? And like they basically play for the cows outside in the field, And the first record I feel like is this like Thai psychedelic groove,
Yeah.
and the second record is like kind of more Middle Eastern, and then the third record has a lot more like Spanish influence. So I feel like they're traveling the globe with their tunes. It's pretty cool.
It's cool.
Well, I hope they don't end up just making American music next time. That would be rather unexciting.
Well, I don't know if it would be unexciting if they did, because when I saw them play live, I don't know if you saw this in the set, they did covers of the original samples from known hip hop songs as a medley.
No,
It was incredible.
I didn't see that. That sounds amazing, though. And is that what you've been listening to the last 4 months, Matt? What's been
Oh,
in your ears?
honestly, I've listened to so much in the last 4 months. I couldn't, like, not to cop out, I can name some stuff, but I can't even list all the things that I've
Anything
been listening
new?
to, and all the yeah. So the new River Cult record has come out. I believe it was released. What was it? 2 months ago. Anyway, it's fairly new. It's happened in the last 4 months, and the engineer who recorded that record, Charles Burst, also did the Dead Satellites EP, and Sean from River Cult also was on Isolation Under Glass. They're a fantastic band. That record was good. That came out. I really like the 9 Inch Nails Ghost release. Both of them I thought were really good. I think I liked the first record better than the second one, but I really did enjoy both of them, and they came out kind of at the perfect time.
Yeah,
where I love listening to them in the mornings. And I'm trying to see what else has come out. Like, yeah, the Khruangbin record came out. What else is new? I've been discovering a lot of older music that I've never heard before. I listen to a lot of music from different countries. So like, I'll spend a day where I listen to a lot of African music from the 70s, and I'll get into like really psychedelic, like African rock. And then I'll the next day get into like really cool stuff that I've never heard from the early 70s in the UK. And it just I just keep digging constantly all the time. I also spent it was interesting for me after George Floyd was murdered. It took me a long time to listen to the normal music that I would listen to every day, like just like what I would dig through, and I found myself like really digging deep into music from Black musicians in the United States over the course of history. Like I would just go through everything that I loved, everything that was new that I could find that I enjoyed, and really trying to expose myself to as much music as possible, because I felt just a need to amplify those voices and hear those voices in my head.
Absolutely.
So I think that took up a good portion of those 4 months, was at least a full month. It was interesting because I remember the first thing that I listened to after that big binge of just really listening to all those musicians was a Cure record. And I remember feeling like it doesn't really get wider than listening to a Cure record right now.
Yeah, no, The Cure is an aggressively white band.
Which
They're
I
also
love, don't get me wrong.
they are possibly my favorite band. I'm not good at saying like this is the only one favorite, but you know, I mean, I'm also a very white person, so I mean, I like the fucking Talking Heads. You know, I'm white. You know,
I love the Talking Heads.
they're a very white band. You know,
Yeah, it doesn't really get more white than the Talking Heads. I
No,
mean,
exactly.
as far as a post-punk or punk band would go, you know.
Exactly.
Yeah.
No, I mean, like Autumn, for those one, my girlfriend described them as barbecue dad music, and I realized my dad introduced me to them because he's that age. You know, he's like a
Did you hear him first at a barbecue?
What?
I was asking if he showed them to you at a barbecue.
No, but my dad lives for barbecuing, and he's like just shy of 70, and he thinks David Byrne is the greatest mind of his generation, and I mean he may be right, but it's also like yeah, it's some white dad barbecue music.
My introduction to the Talking Heads. Let's see. Here's the thing. Like, since we kind of touched on it, you know, I don't want to make it a big conversation about things that I don't have any business talking about necessarily, or make it about race. But I've always just loved music, and I've loved music no matter who makes it, and it doesn't really matter to me. But speaking specifically to the Talking Heads, I've read a lot of I've read a lot more David Byrne, and I've seen David Byrne live. I've not seen the Talking Heads live. And one of the things that I've heard him say in interviews and read about it is he is very aware of his whiteness and about his character, and about how he was going to play it up and go as far as he could with that way that he acts and the way that he carries himself with the Talking Heads. He leaned into it, knowing that that's his strength, and that's who he is, which is funny because the first time I ever heard the Talking Heads I was pretty young, and I heard Burning Down the House.
Yeah.
And I had a really strange mix of emotions of being kind of scared, thinking we're going to burn down the house. We're screaming, burning down the house. Like, not like just thinking about a fire, just you're burning the house down. But an excitement of that the song was so much fun, and it made me want to dance around and run around like a lunatic. And it's funny now because the Talking Heads that I enjoy now are much different. Like, I would say for me, This Must Be the Place is my all-time favorite Talking Heads song. And every time I hear it, I don't get tired of it for whatever reason. I just really enjoy the song.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't say that I ever connected with them as much as other artists.
Yeah.
But I really feel like David Byrne, as a writer, and some of the things that he's done, especially that book on how music works.
Yes.
I thought it was life-changing for me. Like, when I read that full book, I thought the beginning was great. He talked about, you know, where music came from. You don't have to know anything about music to read the book, but I feel like for people who know about music, it's amazing because there is a little bit of a conversation about how music actually works.
Yeah.
But he touches on like the beginning of what music is for, and about how music is for dancing and for tradition and to pass stories and to connect with other human beings, and how it started being a thing that wasn't monetized to a thing that was exploited into a thing that was monetized. And it's kind of coming back again to a thing that is more about the live experience again, and it's not about making money. And if you look over the history, you know, when he talks about it, majority of people who made the music over history didn't make the money anyway. They weren't the ones getting rich. It was a lot of other people getting rich off of people who were making music. But it's, you know, I think about like the fact of, you know, piracy and how people started, like I was very against streaming when streaming became a thing. I loved music sharing, and I loved being able to share music, but I felt like at some point it had to be, you had to get the music and then share it. Like I felt like cutting out the sharing aspect of it cheapened it in a way, and it made people not think that it was something that people worked really hard, and the way that they would consume it would be just to quickly just dismiss something and move on to the next. And because it didn't have any value, it's like, I didn't connect initially with the recent Tool record that came out, for example. And then the CD got stuck in my car. And it's the only CD I can listen to in my car. So I can listen to radio, or I can listen to Fear Inoculum. And
How do you feel?
I'm liking it now. I'm into it. It's like,
I'm glad.
Every more listen, like, because it's a long record too. Like the first time I listened to it in the car, and I drove someone to the airport, and then I drove home, and I still just.
Uh-oh.
Something went wrong.
Way to go. Well, we're just left with the drummer Suavecito camera.
Hey. Yeah, with that.
This is the second time this has happened.
This is great. This is great. We're doing the musical chairs bit.
Are you guys in the same room right now? Because you were sitting next to those what looked like golf clubs to here.
So
are you in the same room?
We're playing musical chairs. Now he's on the bottom
I like
left.
how she's turning her camera to try and see if it'll change where you guys are sitting.
We're gonna switch.
You're in the same place right now.
What?
Right?
Who?
No.
Yeah, because Matt, you were sitting next to those. They look like golf clubs. You were sitting next to those about an hour ago.
They're pieces of the drum kit.
Yeah, what are you talking about? That's
from here. Looks like the tops of golf club.
Look,
aren't those cymbal stands? Yeah, of course. It's good.
I just can't see them that well. They look like what it looks like though.
Oh.
You guys are gonna go out on the field tomorrow and
hit some cymbals on the course.
Yeah, I could see golf clubs. How you could see that there.
I thought that. I was like, golf clubs. Did Matt take up golf?
They're actually
you know?
they're stands. They're called century stands or C stands for short, and they're used for like rigging things like lights and other things.
Okay, they look just like they're for a drum kit. So
yeah, it's hardware. It's hardware for sure.
Maybe I'll zoom in.
I mean, you could probably. You know. He's zooming. He's zooming in.
No, you don't have to. You don't want to. But that's what I thought they were. Right.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, there's. I feel like there's so many amazing bands and amazing records that I haven't discovered yet, and I love listening to a lot of instrumental music. I've been listening to more and more of that all the time. And then like. It's amazing how many bands I like that I haven't heard all their records.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden I'll be like, well, I never heard the second record by The Damned. Maybe I should listen to it. So I think a lot of quarantine for me was like also digging into bands that I liked. And that, I guess I was talking about streaming earlier before I got distracted. I feel like now I like streaming more because I've gotten to a different way of looking at how I consume my music. And also understanding as an artist, when I was a kid, I thought that when you made a record, I thought that when you made a record, you made a good living. Like if you if I found your record in my record store, that I thought that you would make a good living. Like, oh, they made it. I can buy their record. I had no idea that wasn't the case.
Yeah, no, I love that.
So I think like with streaming now, like the great thing is you're able to dive deep, and you're able to like really like I can follow and listen to everything in a catalog in one day, and then find out everybody who like I could do the research. I can find out all the musicians who played on that record. And then I can listen to all the things they did, or I like the production. I can listen to. It's just very accessible. Where I used to have to save money and buy this stuff at the store, or I'd have to find a friend who could lend it to me or make me a bootleg.
Yeah, no, it's weird. Like I realized today alone, I like learned so much about like two separate bands. Just because I had the inclination to do so. I didn't have to spend a penny, which is good and bad, obviously. Like the singer of that band SNFU died, and I had never heard them.
Oh shit! She died?
Yeah, Chi Pig passed away.
When?
I'm sorry. I
You're breaking the news. I'm a huge SNFU fan, so you're breaking some news to me.
Yeah, no. A lot of my friends were very torn up about it, and I'd heard the name, but I hadn't heard their music. He seemed like a really beautiful person. I read a couple interviews. And he seemed, both, playfully antagonistic and incredibly insightful, and especially being somebody who came out as, gay when he did it sounded like just like he lived a crazy life. And I guess
in the
like
late 80s,
what?
in the late 80s, SNFU was neck and neck in lots of magazines for the best live band with Jane's Addiction.
That sounds about right, especially with
they were an incredible band, and in fact, I would have included them on the playlist I sent you for a specific album, but it is not on streaming.
Oh, geez, so you were looking for them today, even?
Well, not today, but yeah, like I just know, like, well, because I was thinking about the history of Matt Black, and SNFU is a big influence on the first incarnation of the band. With the album, If You Swear You Catch No Fish, which I didn't actually include it because I thought it was not on streaming. So at least last time I checked, it wasn't. Yeah. But that's, do you know how he died? Do you know how he passed?
I don't know, but I know that I found a friend of mine who was a big fan shared an interview from November, so 8 months ago, where he basically, it was not a planned interview. He ran into the interviewer in a bar in Canada where he lives and said, "Hey, the doctors told me I have a month to live. Let's talk." And they didn't say anything other than that he had a poor bill of health. He was 57, which is awfully young.
We actually had plans. Fidel and our original bassist Kamel and I were going to go up because she has a mutual friend of his, and we were going to try to get him to do something on Dust of This Planet, our second record. And we got a hold of somebody who could hook us up with him and connect with him. And then we started feeling like it would feel wrong. Like it just started feeling like where he was in life, that we would be exploiting a situation very quickly. Just because of like, I don't feel like we would have to try to, I don't know how to really put it, but just maybe it just felt like we would have to coerce him to being a part of what we wanted to do instead of him just genuinely wanting to be a part of it. So we stepped away from it quickly, but Anyway, I'm sorry to derail what you were saying, but I just
Oh, no.
strongly like I'm
If anything,
hearing this news for the first time.
I'm glad I mentioned it. It seems like he was a pioneer in a lot of ways. But, it's like doesn't like the internet. I could be like, so and so died. I'm going to read 3 interviews and listen to a dozen songs and get a feel for.
If you ever want to really hear like one of the best, I mean, I love No Means No. There's a lot of really good Canadian punk bands, but I feel like SNFU is one of the most important, influential bands. And I personally would say, listen to, I think it was one of their best records. If You Swear You'll Catch No Fish.
I'm gonna have to do that because
it's an incredible record.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to then because like I think I've told you like No Means No is one of my favorite bands in the punk world. So if this band is on that level, I'm gonna spend even more time with it. But yeah, I did a deep dive on them. And then I also because Autumn's been playing, she has her iTunes or whatever set to just play random songs from her computer, and it so a few times in the last few years I've heard this one song that like really stuck out to me, and so it was by the Murder City Devils, and I was like, I should look up this band.
And that's Cody Willis on drums, right?
Right, and I learned that. I'm like, oh,
yeah.
It's a when I Google them, I'm like, oh, they've had members join the Big Business and Melvins, like all that. But it was one of those things where I dismissed them because their name for so long. Because I'm like, oh, this sounds like it's going to be a shitty rockabilly punk thing with a name like that, and it was not at all. It was kind of like garage.
I feel like it's a very bad name for them. Like it just doesn't seem representative. But
yeah.
When I've heard Cody talk about it, it's like when he joined, because I don't think he was a founding member. But anyway, I did hear him talk about them in the interview because I didn't know. Cody Willis is the reason why I know about them at all, because I was listening to him talk about the Murder City Devils. That's how I found out about him. And I always thought, like, I would have never decided, hey, let's check out what this music is about from the name.
No, that name doesn't sell you on it, does it? If you're not, like, into that. But so, I did like a deep dive on them today because that one song kept getting stuck in my head. And I'm like, oh, man.
What was the song?
Midnight Service at the Mutter Museum, which, I've never been to the Mutter. Autumn has, but it seems like a really interesting
Mutter? I'm not aware.
It's a museum in Philadelphia that's got like all this like it used to be a prison, I want to say, and it's got like a lot of prison related art. It's not like I didn't prepare to explain this, so I haven't done my research, but
it's okay.
It's the Mutter Museum, right? You're talking about?
Yeah.
They're affiliated with the College of Physicians in Philadelphia.
And it's medical stuff. Right, medical, not.
Cool.
I'm sorry. Yeah. No, it seems really cool.
I've been, and then after I went to eat, which was maybe not recommended depending on the personality. But I was hungry and nothing was going to stop me. But
what was your experience there?
It was cool, but there were things there that were creepy. So I don't know if at the time you went, maybe the exhibit or the main exhibit at the time or what they were featuring was different, but it's definitely something you can do in one day. You can do the whole thing. I don't know Philly that well, so it's not like I had a ton to do after, but it's definitely a day trip. Okay. And they had, there's like there's an area downstairs where you open the drawer and it's a bunch of things that people have swallowed that they've retrieved from stomachs. A lot of it's like hairpins, buttons. If you were a seamstress and you were sewing and you'd hold a pin in I hold pins in my mouth when I'm sewing, but things that were swallowed and retrieved. They have, they have a lot of medical models and things like that. And then they have the saponified woman. And the saponified woman was a body that was exhumed during construction, and I believe it was nearby one of the older cemeteries in Philly, somewhere. And the reason why she became saponified was that when she was buried, apparently, biologically and the temperatures and all the temperature and the conditions, the humidity will line up perfectly. It's the same way that you would make soap. And if you have excess fat on your body, which they had determined that this woman had, your organs would become liquid over time, and she basically became soap, and she's there. And that was a little creepy for me.
That's a
Wow.
lot.
Yeah. I can see
It's
that.
cool. I mean, it's not particularly gruesome, you know. One of the skeletons had beautiful eyelashes on it with the skin. That was more disturbing. I think the eyelashes.
Because they were beautiful, or because they were eyelashes?
Because they were the eyelashes, and it was still it was a skeleton with the. It's been a long time since I've been, but some of the skin was still there, and of course, some of the skin was still on the face.
Right. So you're seeing
And
actual
it
skin.
It had these beautiful eyelashes, you know. But it's like you look at it, and you know, when you realize this was a real live human being, it's not what you see every day, and so it's.
Yeah.
But it's really.
I was at
you
a
know?
store in the East Village one time, and they had a pretty good sized jar full of belly button lint.
Oh,
No. Nope.
Yeah, and I was.
Bye.
and
Nope. Bye.
yeah. No, it's like
And
when you
that
go to
creeped me
the,
out a little bit. I was like, that's a lot of belly button.
Why?
it's like when you go to those fairs from Atlas Obscura where they have like all these vendors, and like most of it's just like funky antiques. And then there's the one person who's like selling fingernail clippings or some shit, and you're just like, I'm not here for this.
I mean, how do you get that many? You know, I don't know. No.
Well, oh my gosh, but yeah, so I'm glad we're learning about the Mutter. Maybe that'll be your next band field trip post pandemic. How have you guys been? Have you been able to create, whether it's just in the nebulous? Obviously you're not recording a record right now or anything, but what have you been able to do creatively? Because you are, as you said, 3 people that need to make art to stay sane.
You want to go first, Courtney?
Sure. I play the piano. I have since I was little. So I've just, a while ago, I had gotten a lot of piano books, and as I cleaned through things out my parents' basement and where they say, take this home, it can't live with us anymore, and I bring it back to my apartment. So I've gotten a lot of books and a lot of things to pick at. And so right now I've just been having a lot more time, in between work, but I've had a lot of time to, work on technique, and then aside from that, work on some new pieces and, teach myself some new things. So I am getting very much into some new things that I've been doing. So that has been taking up a lot of time. So, and since I have the keyboard, I'm able to hook up headphones, so I don't disturb any neighbors or anything.
I really enjoyed your concerts when you were doing
thank
the live
you.
stream concerts.
Thank
They were
you.
very nice.
Thank you very much. I think I'm going to do another one. That's why I've been planning some stuff. I don't want it to be I want it to be good and very entertaining. So I've been working on the set list for the next pandemic piano jams.
Nice.
So.
Are you doing it on Instagram Live?
Yes. So
Cool.
I would usually do a little note, and then I would say, I'm going to be doing it this Friday at 8 p.m. or whatever time. Or it's been a while. Just I've been so busy with things, and by the time I get home, I'm still working full time. So when I'm home in the evening, and I'm exhausted. So I'll play for a little bit. But I've been meaning to do another one. Partly my problem is this ancient phone that I'm using right now, but I'll be back. There'll be more.
Your phone's doing well enough.
It is, right? It must be it's got to be the website. I think it's probably going very well. It just, otherwise it's very fuzzy and pixelated on some other things.
I've had friends whose phones were newer than yours that still had a poor, grainy connection with me on this, but they were lovely people, and it made up for it.
So you released you put out a release since the pandemic, Ben?
Me? No, we're not talking about that. I'm a hobbyist, but yeah, no, I've been I only started playing bass guitar 3 years ago. I started playing music 3 years ago. Uh, you guys know I was the singer in bands when I was younger, but I never learned any instruments that were not singing until I was pretty much right around the time I turned 30. Uh, and so I've recorded a handful of single song recordings over the last couple of years, but I finally decided that one of them was in line enough with what I'm doing that I put it out. But I've already nitpicked that into oblivion and decided exactly what's wrong with it, which is to me not a negative thing. That's like a, okay, cool. I know where to go from here thing. But anytime I've told that to somebody, they're like, no, it's good. It's like, no. Not saying it's bad. Here I'm choking on my own saliva. Just like I know how it could be better, which is a really exciting place to be sitting with your own creative work. So I have bass lines for probably a dozen songs, and sometime in the next 3 years, I'll actually commit them in a way that other people can enjoy them. But yeah, no, that was an act of needed creation. But Matt and Fidel, you two have been in contact, not socially distanced through the whole pandemic, because you're part of each other's little, whatever they're calling it.
Yeah, I mean, we practically, yeah. So the thing with Fidel and I is when, we're always together.
Yes.
So when social distancing started, we were already spending every day together, and we worked together for a living, and we live next to each other. And we basically, for the last 4 months, have not seen any other people other than each other and our significant others and family that we live with. That's it. So we're in a unique situation as far as bands go, where when we're able to actually spend more time together as a duo than a lot of people are able to. So we have been able to do Dead Satellites material during the pandemic, and so that's hence why we're unmasked in a room together right now.
Yeah. No, so that's important for viewers
but
who
still
have
separated. Still separated. We're not even in the room. We're
6 feet away. 6 feet away.
Stay away.
Well, that's just because you've known each other for so long that you need a little space.
It's fresh.
We've started on new songs, and our plan is to wait a year before we're gonna, for as far as Dead Satellites go. Not speaking about Matt Black, but we're thinking like just play the songs that we've been working on for a year, and then see where we are at that point. But already I feel like we went through 22 songs, and we have kind of been working on 3 consistently for the last month. They're done. The songs are done. We're just going to play them a few thousand times.
So your sound just shifted.
I'm really looking forward to hopefully being able to get together with Courtney when there's a vaccine, and we're able to maybe.
Matt, your sound just changed. It feels like you're coming from across the room.
Oh yeah, I hear that too.
It sounds like it's only coming through the phone in front of Fidel, not you.
What's happening? I believe my earbuds have died.
Oh,
So
your earbuds.
Switch to an echo from over here.
Your earbuds died? I bet that's why we can't hear your voice.
Okay, here we go.
There we go.
I realize we've been talking on the internet for like 2 hours,
Yeah.
which I'm having fun, but that's why I think my earbuds give up.
No, that's totally fine, and that makes sense. I know that time is running short. You have other things to do with your Friday night. It's an exciting world.
So many
But
parties, man. So many parties.
I wanted to ask. I did have a couple of questions though. You mentioned about playing that jumbo guitar and doing a David Bowie song, and I knowing you, and when one looks at your site and things, some bands are more averse to this than others. You guys are very comfortable doing cover versions of songs, and I've mistakenly thought that one of your original, or that a song was an original. It was a Nirvana song when you were doing the Dead Satellites thing, and because of that, I learned a Nirvana song. And things like that.
That's awesome.
What do you feel that you gain from exploring your own takes on other people's compositions, and like what does it do for you? Is it just fun, or more to it than that?
Well, it's so many things. I mean, one, it's really fun to play songs that you love, and I think it also, you learn something every time you learn a song. So there's a lesson that you've learned from how somebody might play something, or what you might do differently to how they play it, and then the way you approach it could be very differently. So at this point, we've covered a lot of different music, and on the playlist that I gave you, a good chunk of the songs were actually songs that we played live. So we did Astronomy Domain before. We've done Down on the Street. We've done History of Bad Men. With Courtney, we've done a lot of really great covers that were really fun to do by tons of bands. Like we've done Queens of the Stone Age songs. We've done Meat Puppet songs. We've done Mudhoney songs. There's just there's a lot of different kinds of songs, and it's interesting too, because like, for example, when we covered Astronomy Domain, we did a hybrid of being influenced from the Pink Floyd version and from the Voivod version.
Yeah.
And we played it as a 4-piece, and we've done Nine Inch Nails Last. We did David Bowie's Within You. We did The Cure's M. So it's all over like a lot of different kind of music too. It's not just we've only covered one thing here or there, but I feel like as much as I love writing brand new material, making a song fresh or just even learning something from it has been really nice. And I think like recently, Fidel and I have been playing Melvin's Revolve quite a bit as just a warm up. But I would say that one of our favorite covers that we've ever played before, and basically Matt Black plays it sometimes, but Dead Satellites plays every show, is Thunder Villain UFO. It's recent Chinese UFO news is the full title. We always just refer to it as UFO. And that was a duo that basically influenced a lot of what we do when we play as a 2-piece.
Yeah.
And it's a band that I also included on the playlist, but they are not existing on Spotify. You can only find them on Bandcamp. And they're a defunct band. Right now, members of bands that we love have come together and formed a new band. There was members of Holy Toast and Great White Caps and all these bands we love, Thunder Villain, and now they're called Dino Sorcerer. And Dino Sorcerer is alive. I've seen them do a rehearsal during the pandemic.
Ooh.
They are just starting. So I feel like as far as that goes, they're to look out. And they're doing Thunder Villain songs, including that one. And they're doing multiple Thunder Villain songs. But anyway, I feel like every time this is a really long-winded answer to your question, but I feel like for me, covers are really wonderful to celebrate bands that people might not know or might have never heard. Like you've heard Nirvana, but you had never heard that particular song before.
Correct.
And it actually made you listen to the record that you had never listened to before. And I feel like that is one of the things I love about the covers, but also like our Bowie cover that we did is really nothing like the original at all. I mean, we oftentimes will choose covers that maybe you wouldn't expect someone to cover. They're not always the most popular cover, and then do them in a different way. Like we did Within You, which is on the Labyrinth soundtrack.
Yes, I love that song.
And I feel like it's a very, like the orchestration and the sounds they use from when they made that sounds very dated, and it's very different, and the time signatures are very strange. And then we stripped it down, and I played a coda on that song, which is the only time I've ever played that instrument in my entire life. And I think the engineer said it was the only time he had ever recorded one. So I guess it was like, even in that, there's experimentation to a cover that would maybe not be explored unless we were trying something new.
That's really cool. Like I don't think I can distinctly point out a recording I know of having a coda on it. So, you know.
The only one I know is actually, well, I know coda music, but the only like pop or popular music, or I don't know, even underground thing that I can think of would be actually a David Bowie song. So it kind of makes sense in a way.
There you go.
Yeah.
And I'm sure I have probably heard the song, but wouldn't know off the top of my head that it contained coda. I've got I'll leave a parting question for you, because I realize we're hitting the 2-hour mark here, and I want to let you guys get on with your lives. Something I really appreciate, obviously with Dead Satellites it's a duo, but Matt Black is the quintessential power trio setup, which I think is a really potent form for a band to take. It's, like, it's kind of the perfect conversational size of a band. What are your collective favorite power trios? Like, who, what do you love? What inspires that for you?
Chord.
The Queen.
Queen.
I like Jimi Hendrix and the Experience quite a bit. I would say like that band is a huge influence on my musical language. Nirvana, I really like them as a power trio.
Yeah.
I love power trios. Power trios are amazing. Those are just the ones that I guess pop into my head immediately from what's kind of hit me. I mean, I feel like there's so many amazing power trios. But
Power trio?
You can't count it. You can't count it because they have a vocalist. But
what did Fidel say?
He said it's a power trio, and I'm like, no, I don't think that counts because there's 4 members.
And
but
so
I think. What's that?
Oh, and so did you say Meat Puppets?
Meat Puppets.
Okay.
Yeah, they're great. Court and I went to see them on their last tour. That was really fun.
Yeah,
I'm
that
glad
was
to see
fun.
they're still out there doing it. I'm trying to think of who else has really recently been blowing my mind as a power trio. I mean, Khruangbin is a power trio.
They are.
They are
we
a power
keep coming
trio.
back to that.
Yeah. I don't know, in a weird way, in the last 5 years, there's some of the most exciting things I've heard. I'm also really into, do you know who Tommy Guerrero is?
I've heard the name, but I don't know why.
He's a skateboarder as well. His instrumental music is incredible. He's a really talented musician, and I've really gotten into his music quite a bit. Another thing that I've been loving a lot lately is the Madsen 2 meets Charles Bundick.
Okay.
Incredible record. Really, really amazing stuff.
Link me to it, because I don't know it at all, and I know I'll forget, but I want to hear this.
Yeah, we can catch up. I can tell you about all sorts of weird stuff. And it's crazy, though, because I go from I'll just all of a sudden be like, today I'm going to listen to DRI for some reason, and just start listening to like thrash, and then the next day it's like I'm gonna listen to some really obscure modern classical stuff, and there's a lot of different things. But I mean, I don't know. I feel like Psyche, talking about power trios.
Yeah.
I feel like all three of us were very influenced from the Jimi Hendrix and the Experience when we were making the music we make. I mean, I feel like I hear Mitch Mitchell. You know, I don't really hear Jimi Hendrix, but you know, I'm trying to do my best of just trying to pick up the slack. You know.
I mean, that's not something you aspire to. That's just something that happens. If you try to do that, you'll make it even worse. You know. So
I would never want to compete with the man. I feel like he's a huge inspiration, and I feel like there were definitely times where I would think of their groove as a power trio to what the three of us were bringing to the table, and like not try to emulate it, but just use it as an inspiration. I mean, we almost did When 6 Becomes 9.
Ooh.
And I think that a Matt Black cover of that song would be really great. What?
We started that?
Yeah, we started. We were going to do it. It never happened. But I feel like that would be a good Matt Black cover.
Yeah, post-pandemic, that's what you got to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you guys so much for taking the time to talk to me. You can see on my end, I've been using natural light. I'm slowly sinking into the darkness here. Because when I turn on the lights in here, it gets really hot, and I look really red. I'll do it just so you can see. Not so good. You know, like that. It's a very like we got an orange light bulb and a red light bulb because Autumn likes colorful lights. So we don't have any regular white light bulbs. There's just like orange and red right above me.
I'm in an old railroad.
Well, Ben, you asked us a question. Who are your favorite power trios right now?
I mean, I guess there's two. I guess this is the duality of man here. I've got the very dad response of Cream, which because I remember being a kid, and when it's funny that I play bass now because I remember when I was about 15, my dad got in trouble with my stepmom for asking for a bass guitar for Hanukkah. Because she looks at my my stepmom looks at my dad's Christmas or Hanukkah list. Being a Jewish kid in America, they're just one holiday, and it said she says, Albert, what is bass and bass guitar? And he's like, no, it's a bass guitar. It has 4 strings, not 6. He had to explain it because he wanted to learn to play White Room. That was like my dad's goal in getting a bass and bass guitar. And he got a bass and bass guitar because he makes enough money. Did
he learn it?
Things. He didn't learn it. I don't even know if he played it. I think he learned maybe part of it, and it's a great bass line, but I will say it's not like it's one of the most challenging ones in the world. I mean, but to be fair, the first song I learned on bass was one that he introduced me to as a kid, which was Mongoloid by Devo, and that's even easier, so I can't really knock his aspirations. But he never tried. He never picked it up, even though he had it. I wasn't allowed to try it. I wasn't allowed to touch his bass. But so Cream is one, and then the other one I'd say is Pig Destroyer, which is total other end of the spectrum. But
they're not really a power trio.
Not anymore. And to be fair, I don't. I have to be careful because I'm friends with somebody who is romantically involved with a member of them. But when they were a 3-piece is when they were at their best, in my opinion. My very first band was a 3-piece directly inspired by them. We had guitar, drums, vocals, and the guitars played.
I didn't know they were a 3-piece because when I saw them play, they were not a 3-piece.
No, they were. No, they were a 4-piece when I saw them live, and now they're a 5-piece. They have a bass guitar now, which is blasphemous to me. But no, Pig Destroyer used to be guitar, drums, and a singer, and nothing else. Okay. Then they got a guy who did samples and noise stuff live and backing vocals. And then recently they got a bassist. And it's like, I'm sure that it's still good, but there's something so cool about being like a band that's that heavy and saying, oh, yeah, we don't even have a bass player. Like we're just, I mean, and obviously as somebody that plays bass, I'm not knocking the bass, but I thought that was just such a throwing caution to the wind sort of action. Just saying, oh, we
I
can.
love it. I also love when
Yeah.
I've seen lots of really good bands too play as two guitar players and
Yeah.
one drummer, and sometimes it's really amazing. Like we played a Matt Black show with a band that had a setup like that.
Yeah.
9 Layers Deep, I think, doesn't have a bass player, right, guys? It's like 2 guitar players.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. Although, on the other side, and they're certainly not a three-piece, but one of my favorite bands I've ever seen live had no guitarists and 2 bassists. So, it can go either way. All instruments are good in the right application.
I've seen Melvins in almost every configuration possible, like as far as members and how many people and how many bass players and how many drummers and how many guitar players. And,
I've only
do you
seen
like
them
Blue
once.
Cheer?
I do like Blue Cheer.
Were they a power trio? I feel like they were, right? 3 guys?
I don't know a lot about the structure of them. I've heard songs that I enjoyed. I'm gonna have to look this up.
I feel like they were a power trio.
I feel like a lot of the classic hard heavy rock was, so that wouldn't surprise me at all. But
I have a lot of friends who also. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was just saying, like, I feel like sometimes I hear people also consider power trios to extend to when there's 3 people playing instruments and a singer, which is funny to me because I'm like, that's not a power trio.
No, because I think it's about the synergy you have with just 3 people. Because the second there's a 4th person, the band is able to have 2 separate conversations in practice or in playing. Whereas when there's 3 of you, you can't have 2 pairs branching off having separate interactions. The power trio is really the only way to have a band of more than 2 that is still having only one conversation, which I think is really interesting because I had never considered that. That is definitely something that my better half suggested to me. I'm not that smart. But the power trio has been.
Half.
What was that?
We love your better half. Please tell her we say hello.
I do too. I offered that she could be a co-host tonight, but she's doing mad scientist things, so you'll probably get to enjoy new art from her soon as a consequence of that, because she's
excellent.
And thank you guys so much for being here and taking the time. I'll let you go now. Everybody watching, check out the band Matt Black. There's a link below this YouTube video. You can look up their stuff on YouTube or on Bandcamp, not YouTube. You're looking at YouTube right now. Get off YouTube and go to Bandcamp where you can actually help an artist.
Hey, Ben, thanks for everything you do. We appreciate you very much. Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
It's a pleasure. 2/3 of you were one of the last hangouts I had before the pandemic, and I can't wait to see you guys face to face again and share a beer properly. It'll be really beautiful. And Court, I can't wait to meet you in real life. And
yes, likewise, definitely.
All right. Take care, guys. Have a good night. I'll see you soon.
You too. Good night.
Later. All right. So, dear YouTube viewers, thank you again for being here. Doesn't look like anybody's watching live, and that is fine. I'm not doing this for views. I'm doing this to support the arts and hopefully give you something fun to do. So, as we only had one real question, the final giveaway is going to that one person, a very long-time supporter of me and what I've done, and hopefully somebody who will enjoy the record thoroughly. I'm Ben. This is Black Metal and Brews. I'm going to see you on Tuesday for a talk with a black metal legend in my mind, somebody who has been making fascinating art for literal decades under multiple aliases, and you'll learn more soon, but we're going to keep that one a secret this time. I'm Ben, Black Metal and Brews, and you are wonderful. Cheers.